Hello, happy Monday. Today is December 28th, 2020. Monica Dina Hubbard's here of Whole Heart Energy Healing with another edition of From Challenged to Champion. Today's topic is Dowsing, the Pendulum Edition. Dowsing in one form or another has really been around for thousands of years. Whether it's been used to find water, minerals, or answers to your simple questions, dowsing has been a humble tool used by many. The tools can be as simplistic as a branch from a tree in the shape of the letter Y, a wire hanger with a 90-degree bend at one end in the shape of the letter L, or a weight on a string that can swing freely in any direction. Whichever of these designs you use, you'll be able to bridge the gap between your rational and your intuitive faculties, using both of them in a balanced way to get the answers to your questions. Dowsing really is a natural skill, one that uses your instinct and intuition. You don't need to be psychic to use it. And personally, I've used all three. At age 3, I was given a little Y branch while we were out, my parents and I, visiting my grandparents on the farm. I was told how to hold it, which was to use the Y part, the V part of the Y, in my hands, and the tail end of the Y facing away from me. And I was told, go find some water. Of course, I did that, and I went off looking for water. Here I am walking around in the fields while my parents and my grandparent was talking away. Well, as I'm looking for water, I don't know how to look for water, but I'm looking for water, knowing that of course I can find it if I'm told to do it. Of course there's got to be a way to find it. And to my surprise, that little branch in my hand started quivering and shaking. And the end of the Y that was facing away from me started pulling down. And I remember my little hands going from this position to like being bent down towards the earth. Well, I was very excited, extremely excited, to tell my parents and my grandfather that I found water. I found water. I used the tool that they gave me and I found water. Well, here I am just realizing I have these amazing instincts and I can find water, to be laughed at. To be going, ho, 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 isn't that cute? She found water. And it was just kind of laughed off. My head was patted, and I think I was told to go find some more water or some such thing. I remember being quite upset. I know I was only age 3, but I do have that specific memory of finding that water. And it's too bad that rather than being encouraged to and excited, that my parents and grandparents could have been, they kind of belittled me, and I felt, I don't know, confused, surprised, denied of my own abilities. Well, that time came and went, and I found myself in my late 20s, and I was exploring the use of energy. I think it was fiancé at the time. I don't think he was my husband. My fiancé and I were going to these classes where we were learning about energy work. And the lady that was teaching us gave us these coat hangers in the shape of an L. Um, the the long part was used in for the swing fashion of it, while the bent L short part was put in our hands. And we discovered that if we were away from a person, and we held these L rods in our hands, and we walked towards a person, that even though we weren't moving our hands in a particular way, we were just walking forward with the tips of the L facing away from us, without our knowing or understanding. The L's started to cross, and as we walked backwards, they uncrossed. And so we were told that when you approach somebody's energy field, that your body has this ability to pick up the energies, and the L rod was simply a tool to acknowledge the presence of this energy that you couldn't see, you really couldn't feel, but through the metal rods that were in your hand, you could definitely see with your eyes that there is something different, because you didn't move those rods on your own. Fast forward to my mid-30s. I was at Teachers Convention, and I came across a lady who was doing energy releasing. And I thought, well, I'd like to know about that. Um, it was part of the health and wellness show. All sorts of wellness products were on display, and Teachers Convention had brought in a variety of people to show other ways to improve your health. And so I wanted to know about this. The lady was busy with a customer at the time, and I walked over to her table where there was an assistant there. And the assistant had in front of her a bunch of pretty things. I didn't know what they were, but they were attractive because they were shiny and sparkly and so on. And I asked what they were. She said they were a pendulum. And they had a configuration similar to this, where there was a round one and a pointed one on a chain. And she offered to me to pick one up. At the time, I was having a hard time meditating. I found it infuriating and frustrating to meditate. I couldn't get answers. I couldn't think straight. I was having a whale of a time to connect in a way that I thought I should be able to get answers, to get understandings. And the lady had me pick up this pendulum. So I pick up the pendulum, and she shows me how to hold it, and I hold it in front of myself. And she said to move it forward and backwards. So I moved it forward and backwards. And she said, now you're going to say that this is my yes. And I said out loud, this is my yes. And she had me stop it. And she said, now shake it from side to side and say, this is my no, as in yes or no. So I shook it from side to side and I said, this is my no. So then she said, okay, now you need to stop it. And she said, now talk to your pendulum. So I'm looking at my pendulum. And I held my hand very steady. And I said, as she instructed, show me yes. Well, the darn thing started moving. And as far as I was concerned, my hand was not shaking. My hand was rock steady. In fact, I was on a table with my arm propped up. My hand was not moving around in any way, shape, or form. And show me yes. And the pendulum started moving. Well, I was a little bit shocked. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's nice. I held it steady again. And she said to tell the pendulum, show me no. And again, I held my hand as steady as I could, And that crazy pendulum moved from side to side to show a no answer. I hope my hands aren't moving on the frame, because I am holding my arm up in the air. I've not got it setting on a table for use here. But that's what happened. And I found a way that I could connect and get answers to my questions. All of a sudden, meditating was easy. All of a sudden, getting answers to simple yes, no questions, the answers were coming through. Most of the time, they were correct. I say most of the time because, especially at the early beginnings of my learning this, um, I was doubting. I was doubting a lot that I could do this. Who was I to do this? And then the ego stepped in and said, well, you can't do this. You're not going to be able to get the right answer. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, no, you can't. So I'm arguing with myself. And I didn't know at the time, very, very early, to ask to have my mind kind of set aside for a moment and just be open to the response that I'm getting. I was looking for specific answers to specific questions. And I'm not talking about the ones that I know the answers to. For example, my name is Monica. Yes. My name is Joe. No, my name is not Joe. And the pendulum will show correctly the answers to those questions that you know the answers to. But if I had to ask a question that I didn't know the answer to, but I was hoping the answer to, like, does this man like me? And I'm hoping that the answer is yes. Well, I'm finding that the pendulum did show me the answer was yes. Oh, that's so exciting, only to discover that wasn't the case, or whatever the question was. I thought I was hoping for a certain answer, and my hope was then influencing my energy field, because your thoughts have energy, and it just makes sense. So, when we ask a question, our unconscious minds respond to by influencing the nerve endings in our fingers, causing the pendulum to swing in response. And in other words, that our outward body expresses our inner knowing. And so, if my inner knowing is being, shall we say, overcome with desire of a specific answer, often, especially when you're new to this use of a pendulum, often you'll get the answers that you're wanting versus the answers that are truth. If the two happen to coincide, well, wow, you think you've got it mastered. But until you're able to kind of push your ego aside and just allow for the answers to come through, um, that's when you'll start getting more accurate answers. Um, and like I said, you definitely don't need to be psychic to use it. Pendulums are used as tools for spiritual healing and inner growth, and defined as objects attached to the end of a string or a metal chain when suspended from a stationary position. A pendulum will swing back and forth, forwards and back, or in a circular motion. So how do pendulums help with healing? Well, pendulums promote healing with the process of dowsing, which seeks out the invisible energies. And this connects people to their higher energies and spirituality, which can help locate the blocks in your energy. They're used as a form of reflection by asking questions to receive guidance, awareness, and understanding. Um, when I was learning more in depth from that lady, she was teaching a method called spiritual response therapy. And spiritual response therapy employed the use of pendulums and a chart, well, charts. And you used the pendulum over a chart and the pendulum swung in a particular direction, and you were to read the words that were written in that area that the pendulum swung, and that was your answer to your question. So you don't just have to ask yes no questions um, to be able to use the pendulum. You can ask other questions and have the answers that are already written out on charts. So example, should I take which vitamins should I take, I might ask, and the pendulum would swing over a chart that had vitamins, and it might be vitamin K, vitamin C, because now it's pointing more this way, oh, there we go, vitamin D. I don't have a chart underneath me that has these. I'm just making them up, but um, those are the types of charts that you can find online easily, and you can buy books on them that have these charts set up, and you can use them to find other answers, including deeper meaning answers to spiritual questions that you might have. And I will go into more depth on that at a later broadcast. But today I just want to teach in general about the use of a pendulum in your healing journeys. So, the first thing you need is a pendulum, something simple, something with a weight on one end, a string, or a chain like I use in mine. I make my own, and I personalize them whichever way. I love hearts, and I like that there's a point at the end of the heart, and the point can kind of easily go to the answers on a chart, so that's why I use that, versus just a ball, for example, which, well, this one, looks like it has a bit of a point, but if it was just attached to a round bead, for example, um, then you kind of have to use your eyes, your instincts, whatever it is, to see where the pendulum is swinging back and forth and get that answer. So I tend to use something with a bit of a point on one end. So you might want to think about what type of material or crystal you would like your pendulum to possess. Those of you that are into rocks and minerals, chances are you've chosen a lot because you got a certain feeling from them. You were drawn to them, for lack of a better word. And for whatever reason, you pick it up, and yeah, it's this one versus that one. They look almost identical, they're almost the same size, shape, color, whatever it was, but you chose this particular one over the other one because you were drawn to it. It was a special feeling that you got. And often, when picking out a pendulum, you do the same. You take a look. What is made? What ones look good to you? Not only visually, but which ones are you connecting to energetically? People say that it's important for the pendulum to choose you. Well, I've never heard one say, "Over here, Monica, come and choose me. I'm the one with the yellow streak down the middle," whatever it is. And no, I've never heard it that way. I've seen people, and I've done this myself, ask, "Are you the right pendulum for me?" And I'm doing this on purpose. I would get a no, no, no. "Are you the right pendulum for me?" Ah, and it would show me a yes. And so, if that's the way you're choosing a pendulum and the pendulum choosing you, I think it's more on you than it is a pendulum, to be honest. When you touch it and feel it, there might be a temperature change or a subtle variation of the way it looks from its neighbor, that this is the lucky one. This is the one that looks and feels right. Then that's the one. Simple as that. The general consensus, it says, I was looking at some information here within the healing community, is that using a wooden pendulum on a thread is a preferred option for receiving the greatest clarity. And that's because both crystals and gemstones and metals tend to absorb energies which could cloud or influence the information. Now, I've never read that before or heard of that before. I've always used rocks or gems or whatever it is, and chains versus threads or strings. Um, just because that's what I was working with and that's what I was drawn to. And most out there pendulums are a rock of sort and a chain. The reason why I don't worry about it so much is because I can cleanse a pendulum. And cleansing means to simply clean it of the absorbed energies that were in it. So I don't worry about it because I know to clear those, clean them, and move on. But if that is all of a sudden tweaking your interest about a wooden pendulum and a thread, use it. That means it's the right one for you. It's all good. It's all good. So, how do you cleanse a pendulum? Many people have different varieties of ways. Um, but you'll want to clear the residual energy in the same way you would clear a crystal if you're into that. For example, run it under cold water or run it under hot water. Bury it in a soil. Pardon me. Place it in salt. Place it under the moonlight. Use a singing bowl or a smudge stick and so forth. I don't tend to use those too often. In fact, I think the only method I have used is run it underwater because I I don't know if other people have touched it, I would like their germs off of it. Thank you very much. And just use a bit of soap and water and off it goes. And my intention is that all residual energies are simply washed away. I have also used, however, salt because I heard that was a great way. I haven't found that to be a particular great way. I don't know. They all work for me, so I don't put too much importance on it. And others do, and they are adamant about it, and that's fine. Um, but whatever way you choose, whether you're holding under a tap of water or soaking it in sea salt or just setting a mental intention to free it of possible picked up energies, then that makes it clean and clear for you, and off you go. Some people ask that you always keep it in a pocket or a bra or something like that. So it's always with you. It always has your energies on it. I don't tend to do that too often. I think at the beginning I might have. I've always had one in my pocket or a purse or something, so that I always had one with me. Um, and it's worked then and it's worked when I haven't. Other people will say, don't place it near your computer as it picks up the negative EMFs, the electromagnetic field from your computers. And again, I haven't found it to be particularly true in my case, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be true in your case. So have a feel for that, whichever is the right way for you. Um, but whatever it is, it's definitely a tool that has no particularly properties, and you yourself might not have particular um, magical properties, but the combination of your inner self and the ability of a free flowing chain to move about, well, that makes a difference because that is picking up the subtle energies, and together you're able to um, set your intention and get to answers that you're looking for. In that course of SRT, which was called spiritual release therapy, they also used a pendulum in a different course that was related there, where I used a pendulum on a person's body. They would be lying on a table, and I would use the pendulum to go up and down their back, for example. Let's say I'm at their hip and I get a turn of the pendulum, and then I go towards that and I realize, oh, there's something on the right hip that needs to be adjusted. And then I use my other abilities to be able to find a direction as I was taught. Do I move my hand towards the leg, the up towards the shoulder, away from the hip, towards the spine? Which way do I do it? Is my hand pointed straight down? Is it pointed at an angle? What angle? I ask all these questions and I get my answers, and then I'm able to tweak a muscle with the push of a hand, and am able to unlock pain. I've since discovered more recently that I can do that um, via distance. I thought before I could only be in person and be able to physically touch the person on their back, on their hip, or whatever it is, and touch that muscle and make it move with the intention of it releasing pain and so on. And I was helping out a friend, and well, let me try this. Let me try this energetically, long distance. And I was able to help him with his hip problem. The the energies around the hip, he could feel it moving. He could feel the like a swirl of energy, and he also had ability similar to my own. So he was very good at picking up on energies, and told me later on that his hip was feeling a lot better. Not 100%, but a lot better. And he's been working on it for years and years. And I come in and I work on it for a few minutes, and there was a noticeable decrease in pain. So that was lovely. We'll be working again, actually today, on that, and I'll be utilizing this method again for support for him. But regardless, the use of a pendulum to me was the start of tapping into more of my innate abilities, my instincts, my intuition. And I have been using a pendulum now for 25 years or so. Yeah. So, yeah. So whether you're working on physical pain or emotional pain, um, the it's important to use a pendulum that you think might help you with that, if that's what your use of it is for. So the particular material might be good. Just make sure you cleanse it, clear it prior to your session, so you can get your answers. There's a great benefit in developing a relationship with your pendulum. And by a relationship, I'm not saying you personify it, because this is an object, and as it's made out of energy, as are you and I. So yes, there is an energy field to it. There is life in that way, but it to revere it as something sacred, I don't know that I would go that far. Others do. Others definitely do think of their pendulum in a sacred way, and they put it in special leather pouches, or pouches made of silk, and so on and so on, depending on what your belief system is. Mine, I guess, seems to be a pretty basic, pretty, I don't know, easygoing kind of relationship, and I'm able to get the answers I'm looking for. Um, without problems and without folderol, and making sure that it's in a particular way. Um, so that I leave up to your discretion, your own thoughts about that. But by developing a relationship with your pendulum, I'm talking about the instructions that you are going to give to your pendulum. Like the lady had told me that shaking it forward and backward was a yes, from side to side was a no, and then this circle business here had to do with either searching or the answer is the question you asked is not quite answerable as a yes no statement. So, clarify your question a bit more, and then it will be able to give you a yes or a no answer when you're not using charts. And so that is the part of it. When you define your directional swings, it's you deciding. You're the person with the brain. You're the person that is seeking the answers. You're the person that has the instincts and the intuition. I don't know that my lovely little glass heart here has any instinct or intuition. Feeling, absolutely, but not instinct and intuition. And by feeling, I do mean that it gives off an energy, and you can feel that, but as for an instinct or an intuition, I don't know that I would really buy into that, but some people do, and that's okay. That's okay, whichever it is. So that's what I'm talking about when I say develop a relationship with your pendulum. Feel comfortable. Feel comfortable with the use of your mind. Kind of push to a side, your ego push to a side, and you are just open to the results that are coming your way and that you would like to have the answers to. A tip on that is make sure you're hydrated so that the electrical system in your body is running smoothly, that you haven't just come from a fight or a flight or a something where your emotions are all involved and you need a couple of moments to simmer down, settle down, and all of that. It's best to be in a kind of a calm, relaxed, laissez-faire kind of a state. Taking a few deep breaths in and out allows you to do that. Set your intentions is another way to get accurate answers. That you say a prayer. It's my intention to receive truthful answers, which will serve for the good of all concerned. And I say for the good of all concerned because it's easy for your ego to slip in there and for you to get answers that you're looking for versus accurate answers. So if you want accurate answers from your high self, if you're into spirit guides, then from your spirit guides, God, whoever you work with. I think I'm always working with source energy, and that's where I feel I get my answers through my high self to me. That it just comes in through source. So whatever is working for you, but when you set it as to the good of all concerned, you'll find that I don't know. It's like being more benevolent in your ways, and your answers seem to be more accurate. So, one of the ways that you can start to familiarize yourself with your pendulum a little bit more is to ask questions that you know answers to. So like I showed earlier, front and back is a yes, and a side to side is a no, and a swing around the world there kind of a thing is it's still searching, it's not quite clear of a question, and so on. So I would ask things like, or say statements, my name is Monica, or is my name Monica? And it would definitely show a yes. Is my name Joe? And it would definitely show a no. Um, Will I have a boy or a girl drop into the house right now? And it's going to go in a circle because that's not a clear question. Um, if I asked, will the next person who knocks on the door be male, and I get a no, well then, will it be female? I would definitely get a yes. So who knows? Maybe my sister will come knocking on the door and that's her coming through. Who knows? But the idea is you ask a question that after you've asked and established yes and no responses accurately with known answers, you start going to questions and statements that you don't know the answer to. You know, who will show up at my front door, a male or a female? And you get your answers, and it looks like I'm getting a woman here. Will it be my sister? And I'm getting a no. So should be interesting. I'll keep you informed for next week. So after you've done established questions, and then you do your unestablished questions, and you're feeling comfortable, then it's time to ask your questions um, that you can get answers to. I would start off with yes, no questions, things that don't make a hit matter at all. For example, the next person that calls, when the telephone rings, it is my brother Jack. No. Um, and you pick it up and it happens to be Jack. Well, son of a gun. But nothing's, you know, wrong because you're just getting used to setting out those kind of questions. I might have wanted my brother Jack to call, but it's no big deal that he does or doesn't. Or it is the next person on that phone ring. It might be two phone rings later on. Who knows? But you know, the idea is just to practice, 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 to getting to yourself to a point where you can be. It doesn't matter either way what the answer is, kind of a thing. You'll be happy with just knowing that information, getting that guidance. Um, and if I was expecting a call from my brother Jack and I was saying, you know, is he going to call? Is he going to call? Is he going to call? And I keep getting a no, well, I might want to call him and find out, hey, you know, we haven't talked for a bit. Are you doing okay? You know, did you get that job you were seeking? And so on and so on, whatever it was. And the idea is to use that knowledge, use that information to your advantage. So be prepared to ask several questions, though, in order to get and receive enough information and aid to a quest for your thoughts. And some people say you need to completely stop a pendulum before you say, ask another question, you know, is the sky orange? No. Is the sky green? No. Is the sky yellow? No. Is the sky blue? Yes. You know, I can still ask those same questions when you get used to it. You know, is the sky green? No. Is the sky orange? No. Is the sky blue? Yes. Is the sky purple? No. And it'll swing to the answer. You'll get that intuitive feeling to know it's not just a leftover answer to the question beforehand. You'll feel in your fingers, but more in your being. You'll feel in your being that the answers are being received. So practice using your pendulum, practice setting your intention, moving your ego out of the way, getting answers for yourself and all concerned for the highest and best. and only channeling the information from source or whoever you believe in. If it's just your higher self, great, then it's your higher self. If it's Buddha or Allah or whoever it is that you follow, that you're getting answers and directions from those sources. And that's when you, with your intention in mind, that you'll get pardon me, something wants to come out, that you'll get the answers you're seeking. And that's for asking the yes no questions without the use of pendulum charts. Pendulum charts, very, very handy. Very, very handy. They are used and can be accessed on the internet, in books. Um, look for ones that you seem to be drawn to. If you're looking for more health ones, you can find charts directly related to health and vitamins and minerals and whatever else you need to take into your body to have a healthy, happy body, physical body. And I'd like to give you the idea of to accept information only if your instincts assure it is accurate. I don't care if this thing says no all the live long day to the question, is my name Monica? And yes, I am moving it that way specifically, but I'm not relying on the answer that the pendulum shows me. I am relying on the answer that I'm feeling instinctually. At the beginning, oh boy, did I ever rely on the use of a pendulum. And when I asked questions and I didn't get the answers, it was very upsetting. But as I realized that it's me that's giving the answers, not a crystal on a chain, that I started to realize and go within. But the pendulum was a great, great tool to help me feel those subtle energies. And I was able to translate it from outside of me and start realizing those answers were inside of me. And I used them for those purposes. Um, so that is what I would like for you to do for yourself to avoid disappointment. Another tip, don't use your pendulum when you're feeling emotionally or mentally unstable, imbalanced. So if you're stressed or angry or tired, you know what? It's going to influence the answers that you get, especially at the beginning. Not so much later on after you've been using it for like a million years, like it seems like I have been. Don't use it in place of medical expertise. Um, you know, Sometimes you do need that medical assistance, and you need to go see a doctor. You need to go see a chiropractor. You need to go see somebody that has a better understanding of your mental health. And you might be getting answers and directions, but there are times when you need to put your faith in these things um, away and see, and I'll bet you that for sure it is teaching you. Make sure you go seek medical expertise and so on, so that you're not just relying on a tool. You need to use your instincts, your intuition, and sometimes you need to use the medical expertise that is out there. A lot of people say to not douse for others. In other words, ask only for yourself. I would say that's very true at the beginning when you are opening yourself up to energies and so on. You'll want to be able to work on your own issues first. Later on, as you develop your internal guidance, and that is strong, and then you're able to use a tool like a pendulum to help you gain access for others as well, because you're tapping into their energy field, and you can use it as a form of muscle testing. In fact, the use of a pendulum is often used as a form of muscle testing, and many people will say not to use it on anything else other than as if it was being used on a muscle test. Um, but my teachings and learnings have shown contrary to that. But it is not a skill that is, right away you know it kind of a thing. It does take time and it does take practice. Lots and lots of time, lots and lots of practice. It will come easier and easier the more you use it. So, um, when you're using it and you come at it with an open and unbiased mindset, you're already set up to win. So you'll be doing yourself a good favor when you do that. And understand that there is a limited ability of a pendulum um, to communicate with you. You might not be asking the right questions. You might not be asking enough questions. You might not be wanting answers to questions you don't want to ask because you fear the answer, you fear the outcome. Um, and so, well, the pendulum didn't say that. That's not how that works. Um, you need to consult other forms of communication, whether it's other forms of divination or other people that are sensitive to energies. Don't just rely on a crystal on a string kind of a thing. Um, and I think that's basically what I wanted to share with you. Don't use it as a crutch. It's important that you take personal responsibility. That's the important thing. Develop your own intuition. We all have it. We all have the instincts. We all have inborn instincts and intuition. We can do it. And so don't rely on the pendulum so you can bypass your own responsibility and then blame it on this. This is not going to get you out of anything. You do need to take your personal responsibility. You're just using it as a tool, just like you would use a hammer to pound in a nail. And if you used a hammer to gently tap in something on a glass that's made out of glass and it breaks, well, you're not going to blame the hammer because the glass broke. You're going to blame yourself for using a tool that shouldn't have been used in the first place in that specific way. So I hope that you learned a lot. I will have the write up of this later on. I don't know if it's tomorrow, but shortly. I'll put it in the unit section again of my Facebook group, and I believe I have it written up on the postings where you can join my Facebook group. It's called A New Avenue. So facebook.com/group/A period new NEW period Avenue AVENUE. And you can find it through there. You can seek out me, Monica Hupperts. .98 monica.hupperts.98 on facebook.com to connect with me. I offer everybody a free clearing healing session. You can book that through my Facebook page. You can book that through my website, whole WHOLE heart HEART, and then the number 8 wholeheart8.com. And the 8 stands for the infinity sign. The name of my business, Whole Heart Energy Healing. And I hope to connect with you real soon. Monica Dina Hupperts of Whole Heart Energy Healing. This has been From Challenged to Champion, about dowsing, the Pendulum edition. Wishing you a happy Monday and a happy New Year. Bye bye, and may God bless. Bye bye.